Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakat, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consist of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, today just looking here at Ephesians 6 and 12. This is a well-known verse. It's for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. It says against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And obviously it goes on to talk about the armor of the Most High, having the armor of the Most High, having that on you, using that in this world. Now, like I say, it's quite a well-known verse. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. In your daily lives, in the situations that you go through, you have small situations, some situations that are big. The bottom line, a lot of these scenarios and situations are down to the society that you live in. You can't live according to ancient customs, ancient laws. You've come back to the remembrance of your true nationality, your true identity through the scriptures. We by saying that doesn't just mean to call yourself a Hebrew Israelite. It also means you realize that your people had a certain way of doing things, and you can actually look that up within this book and try to apply it to yourself, which is something, for example, like the religion of Christianity. They use this book to gain weight within their particular religion, but they don't actually go into the book and apply anything written in the book to what they do or how they live their lives or how they even operate that particular religion. So we've seen, for example, like over the last week, a lot of stuff coming out. Epstein, I mean, there's no point really trying to dress up the name because everybody all over the internet is pretty much talking about it. And there's various videos going on here and there, so on and so forth. And even with that, you look at it like I was mentioning, flesh and blood. So that, people being kidnapped or taken against their will, or there's many different ways that they do it. They get these young girls over to this particular island, and they do these particular things. They have these parties. I mean, you don't need me to really go into the details of it, and so everything that's happening on Earth, pretty much boils down to principalities. Says we're not fight against principalities, against powers, but it's against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness. So when you go out into this world and you're seeing this wickedness take place, you're fighting in your daily life. All these situations they come up against you, come up against you, or you come up against them. Situations. This is all dealing with the flesh and blood, but it's all controlled by spiritual wickedness in high place. That's a very important thing to understand. Part of being born again with this understanding of truth is to understand that what's happening in front of you is not necessarily, well, it's definitely not random occurrences. You have situations that happen, you say, oh, that nearly happened, and if that hadn't happened, and we would have crashed the car, or if this wouldn't happened, if this didn't happen, that company may have gone bankrupt. And in our lives, we put these things down to coincidence because it's the way we live and we see things in a certain aspect. But to be wise, you'd have to remember that there are spiritual wickedness in high places, and that's what you really fight against. So going back to what you've seen with Epstein in the last week, 10 days or so, again, it goes back to spiritual wickedness in high places. Even though you got these particular situations. Now, over the years, see, we're living in a time where things are being revealed by the Most High. So, over the years, we've looked at, you looked at the music world, for example. You look at celebrities, film actors, TV stars, whatever you want to call them. And we've known, there's some sort of, people always say, "Oh, you sold your soul to the devil to make it." And when you talk to the general public, that they'll say things like that as if they're so wise, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, the Illuminati. I've heard of that. I've heard of the Masons or satanic rituals, so on and so forth. Oh, look at this. They'll find a video. Look at this. Oh, they're doing a satanic ritual. Oh, look at that. They're doing a satanic ritual." But people don't really understand, obviously, to what level. And it's about also being able to connect the dots, and that's what the Most High is doing now. By revealing the things that He's revealing, He's allowing us to connect the dots. We understand that we're dealing with spiritual wickedness in high places, so the Most High has given us the eye salve to be able to see. We're here as prophets, men of the Most High, so we do the work of the Most High. We administer to the people. At the minute, administering to the people would mean breaking down the scriptures, because they're out there, they're lost, our people, they're scattered. And for example, Ezekiel chapter 37, for that to take place, this word has to go out, and it has to be spoken correctly. Once it's spoken correctly, the people, the elect, whoever they are, they will come into this understanding and be prepared for the return of Yahweh Shai. So, we do that job on one hand, but on the other hand, we have an opposites. So you have like a yin and yang effect. So you have, for example, you have the left hand, you have the right hand. You have Yahweh Shai. He would pretty much carry out the work for the Most High in a righteous manner, on a right hand side. But then you'd have Satan, for example, the spiritual demon Satan, that would carry out work for the Most High at the Most High's will, at his request, in the way that the Most High wants him to do it. And so that spiritual demon Satan will bring about his business on this earth. And don't forget, the book of Revelation says he's been let loose for a little season. So you're fighting against that spiritual wickedness in high place. But we're getting to the end. The mark of the beast is very close. You've got World War III. That's even coming. We've got things happening in the news all the time. So we've got these two major prophecies left to come to pass. And then once they both come to pass, you have the destruction of this wicked empire, the return of Yahweh Shai. So obviously, as we get closer to that time, things get revealed, the truth comes out, people get to see what's really about, and it takes us, it makes things more clear to us. Second Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3 says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come first, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So the son of perdition is destruction, and the man of sin, and this pretty much boils down to the Edomites. When you go through the scriptures, you look at, for example, what happened in 70 AD. That is the revealing of a particular people. What they did to the temple, so on and so forth. This is the man of sin being revealed, the son of perdition. This is Daniel chapter 7:25. It says, and then he shall speak great words against the Most High. This same, man of sin, says, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, which you are the Israelites, and think to change times and laws. It says, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. So this is speaking of the same man. Verse Daniel 7 and verse 24 says, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue the 3 kings. So this is talking about now. It's talking about America, Babylon the Great. That same man who shall wear out the saints, think to change times and laws, and says, and they shall be given, the times and the laws shall be given into his hand until a certain amount of time has been fulfilled. That's the time you're living in. That same man, the man of sin that was revealed in 70 AD, the son of perdition. So it's like a revealing of the same person, because after Yahushua being on the scene 2,000 years ago, the apostles, the prophets, so on and so forth, the believers, that truth was taken away from this world. So then you have Ezekiel chapter 37 has to come to pass. Yahushua sent a man named Abba Bivens, aka Elijah, and Elijah starts speaking the truth of who this particular man is. And you fast forward to today, 2026, and we can quite clearly show you that, according to the scriptures, that the man of sin being revealed are the Edomites. Like I say, when you fast forward it up to today, that it speaks of them here, times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and a dividing of time. So you go back to the book of Revelation. It says, Satan shall be let loose for a little season, and we're in that season. So here we are, like 24th of February 2026, and the prophecies do not fail. The word of the Most High is faithful and true, and you're witnessing what you're witnessing over the course of the last week or 10 days with these particular files is pretty much connecting the dots, and everything's being revealed. So you go back to the scriptures, you go to a people called Edom, and they're all over end time prophecy. You go to the book of Obadiah, talks about this people Edom having a nest among the stars. So that talks about your space station. So there's only one people in history that have had the space station, and that is the people that are in charge today. So we keep telling you, according to Bible prophecy, a people called Edom have to be in charge at the end times. The main destruction is directed towards them, because they are the people in power that rule in power. We tell you through the book of Revelation 13, Rome has 2 parts. We're in the second part. And Apostle Paul warned you about the man of lawlessness being revealed. Daniel 7 saying that he speak many great things, so on and so forth. So I came across this, and you see, you've had the apostles and elders, of GMS and of One West, so on and so forth, been teaching this truth for many years. And for many years, people, you say to Edomites, you show so-called Caucasians, so on and so forth. You show them that who the Edomites are. They want to argue against it. They want to fight against it. But now, they're starting to use it, because the prophets have been out there. Matthew chapter 24, is it? The gospel shall be preached in all the world, and then the end shall come. So the gospel's gone out via the internet, and these people are hearing it. And so then they pick up. It's very hard to deny that end time prophecy, the destruction, the judgment, is centered around a people called Edom. And the people called Edom have to be in charge in that particular time. So this is Rich Tidwell. I pretty much came across this, which kind of prompted me to make this particular video. This is Rothschild's Shield of Edom, Synagogue of Satan, Rich Tidwell's sermon. So, you know, he's like obviously on a Christian point of view, and he's breaking down the shield of Edom, which is something that you'd only, up until now, you've only heard Hebrew Israelites do. You've seen, for example, vocab Malone get presented with the people called the Edomites. We don't know who the Edomites are. They're done away with, so on and so forth. Some people say the Arabs are Edom, but this man has taken it very close, although he's still slightly going off. You can see, for example, Rothschild, Shield of Edom, Synagogue of Satan. So he's trying to say that the Rothschild are the Synagogue of Satan. The Synagogue of Satan, when you look at the book of Revelation, it's letters written to the churches of Israelites. So, when I mean, people use that term to describe the small hats. Okay, they do have a synagogue and it is full of lies, so you could use that, but technically the scripture's written to Israelites, and it's warning them about other Israelites. So, there are some people within the church that are honest and there for a good purpose. There are some people that are there to teach lies and corrupt people. But moving into this, so I'm not going to play the video obviously for copyright reasons. It's an hour and 22 minutes, but I didn't. You can see I only watched 16 minutes, but it's got a little bit described here. Jeffrey Epstein stated in an email to Peter Thiel. So this is what he's talking about in this video. And we know who Peter Thiel is, the founder of Palantir, to see afar. It says, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. So Jeffrey Epstein represents the Rothschilds. It says the surname Rothschilds originates from German meaning red shield. This is when translated into Hebrew based on its etymological meaning. It corresponds to Magen Edom, shield of Edom. It says the Rothschild family are Edomites. So look at here. So this man is telling you that this people, and I've seen this information before on the internet when I first got into this truth. Fast forward 7 years later, it's very difficult to find any documents that are where they will. I've seen it. For example, I've seen on Rothschild web pages where they've said, yeah, we are of the family of Edom, of Esau, but obviously now they've removed a lot of that information, so it's hard to find it. But this man's taking it straight to the point. It says the Rothschild family are Edomites and leaders in the synagogue of Satan. That's what he wants to use it for. It says the Edomites, Canaanites. So this is where he goes off again. Will be defeated in the last days. So where he's going off, you see, he's got this. I've never watched this person before, but I've noticed then since I watched this keeps popping up. This is 2 weeks ago. This is Epstein and the Canaanites, synagogue of Satan. So what he's done, I'll tell you what he's done. I can work it out. He's linked that some of the things that Epstein has done is linked in with Canaanite activity. So he's looking at it like they're Canaanites. Now Canaanites are a group of people under the nation of Ham. Edomites are a completely different nation. But what this man's done here, as he said here, that the Edomites, Canaanites, will be defeated in the last days. So he's come to the point where he has to admit, you can't deny it. If you're going to go into Bible prophecy and you're going to look at it, this word Edom keeps coming up. So at some point you have to realize that these people are huge when it comes to the last days. You look at certain prophecies, if you can work out where we are, then you'll realize that they have to be in power today. But again, the spirit's not fully with this particular man because, like I say, he's looked at Epstein, he's looked at his practices. He said, "Are there Canaanite practices? You're a Canaanite." Now he's trying to tell you that the Edomites who are Canaanites. And how can that be? The Canaanites are Hamites, who are what you would call Africans. The Edomites are what you would call Caucasians. Although these particular terms are just used to hide identities. These modern day terms. So, I didn't really go deep into this, but it says it all there. Jeffrey Epstein stated in an email to Peter Thiel, founder of Palantir, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. So you have the Rothschilds. We've been telling you about these banking elites. Forget about your governments. Forget about your political leaders, even your kings and your queens. They're all controlled by the money, the monetary system. We keep telling you they want to move to the MOTB system, which is a new form of monetary system, which involves total control, where people can't escape it. And behind all this, ultimately, is the banking elites. One of the famous banking elite families are the Rothschilds, so on and so forth. And then they have people who work for them, man like Jeffrey Epstein. So when you look at it, when you go back to, the hand is, the world has been given into the hand of the wicked. The Satan has been let loose for a little season. It's the banking elites that control wars. It's the banking elites that control MOTB. It's the banking elites that have the judgment of end time prophecy within their hands. The Most High has put it in their hands because they are the whipping stick of the Most High. The Most High is going to use that to bring judgment to the nations. But it goes deeper than that. We're out here ultimately as priests. You think of Yahushua, he's that ultimate high priest. Melchizedek. And then obviously on a fleshly level, it's gone over to Aaron. You have Aaron, and then so on and so forth. And then Yahushua has come himself. We're here now. And ultimately, we're doing that job. The priest is to basically administer to the people. And to administer to the people what they need in this particular time is the true name of the Most High, how to make contact with the Most High, how to get into the spirit of the Most High, the Holy Spirit, and what to expect in this great time that we're about to witness. So while we're doing that, the right hand priesthood, you have a left hand priesthood. So before I go deeper, so I put in here, tell me about daily routine and jobs for an ancient priest, high priest in Jerusalem before. I had to put Jesus because that's what they know. I tried. I put show me paleo descriptions rather than modern day Jewish. So the high priest in the decades before Jesus, as they put it, late Second Temple period, was not only the chief religious functionary, but also the political leader. This is often appointed by foreign rulers, Roman or Herodian. Since his life was defined by extreme sanctity, ritual purity, and intense daily service in the Temple of Jerusalem. So, daily routine of the high priest, unlike ordinary priests who served on rotation, the high priest could officiate daily if he chose, and he almost always participated on Sabbath and Rosh Chodesh and festivals. This is before any sacred acts. The high priest immersed himself in mikvah, ritual bath. He wore 8 special garments, gold vestments, including the breastplate, ephod, and turban with a golden plate engraved. This is holy to Yahweh. This is the daily meal offering. Every morning and evening, the high priest offered a special sacrifice, which was not burned like others, but entirely consumed by fire on the altar. Supervision, he oversaw the daily temple operations, which included the morning and evening sacrifices. Administrative duties, the high priest acted as a chief administrator, managing temple finances, collecting taxes, and maintaining order, often acting as the political head of the nation. So the high priest is pretty much in charge politically. It says as the political head of the nation, in charge of finances, collecting taxes, maintaining order. And then obviously, if you want some sort of, you got to think about it. How people work on a low level, like the normal person, they would say, oh, I'm living this life. I'm hoping for to be blessed with a child, and then they'll go to the high priest. Can you tell me when the Most High will bless me with a child? And the high priest will come back with an answer. So people want they use the high priest to guide them, to direct them. Even when I was growing up, we grew up in a Sikh culture. We'd go to the temple. Um, you'd have, like, for example, men on one side, the women on the other side, and then you had certain religious people in there, spiritual, so-called spiritual people, and you could go to these people, for example, for them to tell you something about your future. And I'm not sure exactly how they came about the answers, but I'll give you an example. So, one person I know, he was Sikh, and he went to the temple, and he spoke to this. They call it the. It's when you see the word pronounced, it says pundit, but it's actually they pronounce it pund. And so you go to the pund, and then you say to the man. I think his dad said, "Oh, this is my son. I got some money that I want to give him to open up a business. Can you look into his, like, I don't really know what they look at, if it's astrology or whatever it is, but they look at something, and then they come back with an answer, and they said to him, he's going to make the most successful time of his life to make money is going to be between this age and that age. So then they went away, and then the dad gave him the son. When he got to that age, the dad gave the son some money to go and invest it in a business. All these, that's how pretty much people working. You see people, you're living in the Western world. You open up a business, you go and live your daily life, you go and get a job. And these Westerners, what do? They pray to Jesus. And sometimes, most of the time, they don't even do that. But you see Eastern people living in the Western world, they will go to the temple before they go to the job interview. Or they'll try and open up a business, and they'll go to the temple. So it goes hand in hand. It maybe doesn't to you Westerners. You see, Western civilization is very dumbed down. You have people in this world at the minute that come out from the East into the Western world, trying to open up a business, trying to make money, trying to do this, trying to do that. And they're using their culture's spiritual divination to get answers. My mum's like that. She trips out. She'll only buy a house if it's the door number adds up to such and such number. All this bugged out stuff. And what it is, it's bugged out because it's not the truth. But that's how people operate. So when you're in the world of celebrity, when you want a certain level of fame or a certain level of money, you can make a hit record, one song, one hit wonder, you're famous, people know you, they've heard about you. But then if you want consistent fame, consistent money, you go up a level and up a level. There's levels, and obviously to go up that level, it's almost like you want someone spiritual to come and guide you through it and show you where does my career go. And that's where people like Epstein come in. They show you, we work for the Rothschilds, we can get you anything you want, and you come into this industry, we can make you famous, we can make you a politician, we can make you the next prime minister, political affairs, financial affairs, anything. But that's why you have to play their game, because when you play their game, then they allow you in, and that's how they create such a wicked society. The high priest, Kohen Gadol, great priest, was the head of Konhem, Israelite priesthood. He played a unique role in worship conducted in the tabernacle and later in the temple in Jerusalem, as well as in some non-ritual matters. Says, like all priests, he was required to be descended from Aaron. It says the first priest of the Torah. But unlike other priests, the high priest followed more restrictive laws more unique priestly garments and was the only priest allowed to perform certain ceremonies. So if you have a high priest on the right hand side, Yahushai, he brings the Holy Spirit to us. We can do the work that he wants us to do. We speak, we give truth, we bring comfort. The Holy Spirit arrives. We speak the truth, and then if the Holy Spirit arrives on that particular person, then there's comfort there. And this is from the right hand side. But in this world, if you don't want that, you can go on the left hand side. Who runs the world? The banking elites. And the banking elites, people like the Rothschilds, they have people like Epstein working for them. So they can, tell you if you got a bright future, in the celebrity career or the politician career or whatever you want to get into. If you really want to be super famous and rich, but you're going to have to play their game and do it their way, and go through the rituals that they tell you to go through. So when you go back to here, for example, Jeffrey Epstein stated in an email to Peter Thiel, founder of Palantir, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. So if you want to get hold of the Rothschilds, who do you go to? You go to Epstein. And so you got, like I said it before, the Rothschilds. Who does people like think? Oh yeah, the Queen of England. And she's the owner of England. She rents the land from the Rothschilds. The Queen of England rents the land from the Rothschilds. She's got bills to pay, same way you as me. The money men really run everything. That's why you see, for example, what's his name, Prince Andrew, getting caught up in this scandal. People will sit there and go, oh, well, this person, this person. I've seen Jake making videos. Oh, I found a black person on the Epstein file, so I'm going to make a video about it. Some people talking about the royals. Some people talk about politicians. Some people talk about this person. This is the world that you live in. This is the left-hand high priesthood. And these people have all had blessings in this world to be successful in this world. And they have to do it through the left-hand priests. It goes back here. Jeffrey Epstein stated in an email to Peter Thiel, founder of Palantir, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. I can basically get you anything you want. I can make you what you want to be. But you just have to take a blessing on the left-hand side. Even here, so you got Epstein here. And what's that in the background? That's the Talmud. I've seen the documentary. So this is the entire Talmud, all the copies of the Talmud. And so you look at some of the things that he's doing, some of the descriptions of the things that he's been doing or whatever on his island or wherever else. Some of those things come from these books. So this is he's known for finance. He worked in the city of London. He got to know certain people, and then from there, he's had dealings with Robert Maxwell. Obviously, he's been hanging around with Robert Maxwell's daughter, so on and so forth. But I'm hearing all sorts. I heard he had a 13-year-old who gave birth to a newborn, and then he took the newborn and he threw the newborn over the side of the boat into the open water. You heard about the rituals, so on and so forth. The burning. Don't forget the high priest, his sacrifice has to be burnt, completely dissolved within the fire. So that's what they're doing. That you've seen it. You've seen the temples. He's got this temple, and this is what it is. It. There's a lot of information coming out at the minute. You could go on social media, and there's so many different shorts, and everybody's got a different piece of information related to these files. And each one in itself is a small story to tell, but it takes a little bit of analyzing to sit there and absorb it all, and to try to put it into order. And when you really look at this situation, it answers a lot of the dark, evil mysteries that take place on this earth. We're in that time of revelation, revealing. So, you've always had children go missing off the streets. Some just get snatched. Some are recruited through the idea that they would be joining modeling agencies, so on and so forth. You hear of achrome, things like achrome. You look at things like testing. They use humans as test pieces for experiments. That type of thing was going on this particular island. They'll have like for various labs and maybe scattered around the earth where certain things take place. They investigate certain things. But there was talk of on the island. People are talking of him having technology that to try to clone, for example, things like that. So again, this goes into the pinnacle of this wicked society. Is we see these evils all across the earth, but then there's a pinnacle of it, and that's what I'm showing you. This these files are a center point for a lot of this information. Like I say, all these different rings, these trafficking rings, pedo rings all around the world, they all connect up, and it all, through the pyramid of that structure, it boils down to the top. Um, I'll give you another one. So in the UK, there's this Madeleine McCann. Now, Madeleine McCann, it says here, was born on 12th of May 2003, so she would be 22 years old now. And but she went missing. And now you know how Esau gets down, in the media. She's a young blonde girl with blue eyes, so it's the picture perfect story that they'd want to produce. This probably happens to other children in around the UK, but we don't hear of it. But you may have heard of this case, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Let's just read this quickly. Madeleine McCann, born 12th of May 2003, is a British missing person who, at the age of 3, disappeared from her bed in a holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, Lagos, Portugal. This is on the evening of 3rd of May 2007. Now, this has been an ongoing story for years, even to the point where her parents, I think her father is he's something to do with the army, he's like a general. They've been on TV, they've made requests to find her. Then you've had people analysing the press conference, saying there's something not right about their behaviour. They're always looking for a suspect. As you saw here, there's this, they suspected this particular person, but this person's been released and hasn't actually pressed charges against him. So, it's just a big mystery. And now, it's coming out that talk is that there was CCTV of her going missing, and lo and behold, that the person who was on the CCTV was Ghislaine Maxwell. So now it starts to make sense. You think, yeah, for 20 years they've gone on about this. They're accusing the parents. See what it is with the parents. Come to find out, they're swingers. So they were at a swinging party, and obviously they had to leave the children. They couldn't be with the children, and normally you could always leave one parent. If you've got a 3-year-old child and you have to go somewhere and do something, you're always going to leave one parent with the child, or take the child with you. But obviously when you're swinging, that's what they can't. So they've obviously left the child. She's eventually gone missing. So when they're on the TV telling their story, obviously there's certain things they don't want to say. They don't want to say that they were at a swinging party, that they left her. Apparently, what they're known to do, this is what I've watched a documentary on it. So this is what was happening in that circle. Madeleine McCann's parents were going to a swinging club with the brother of, I want to say Jeff Bezos, but I could be wrong. So they're like high up in these elite swinging parties, And what they used to do is give stuff to the children to knock them out, to put them to sleep while they could go swinging. So this is what they do. That's the thing that's going on separate to the files. But yet the child goes missing. Apparently there's no CCTV. People find that dodgy. The parents, when they're on TV, they don't seem like they're telling the truth. But then yet their child's gone missing. Everybody, 20 years later, everybody's like, "Where's this child? Where do you think this child went?" So now it comes out that the CCTV, someone looked like the appearance of Maxwell. So it all starts to make sense because these people are powerful enough to get that CCTV destroyed. You've seen it in the movies. You know, of something will happen, and then the powers that be, they do everything they can to remove the evidence. But this happens in real life, and these are the people that make it happen. You're talking about the Rothschild and the people that work for them. Starting from the high priest Epstein. So there's one mystery for you. Like I say, the mystery of these pedo rings all around the world. Where does it all boil down to? We got that one, and then there's another one, which is Princess Diana, former Princess of Wales. Now she was married to the current King of England. What's his name? Charles. And it was pretty much an arranged marriage. And what I mean by an arranged marriage is, as we've told you before, within these certain society, they like to marry certain people. So there was some sort of situation where they got married, but then they weren't really in love or whatever they want to talk about. So they broke up. That's them there. So this wedding day, Diana's wedding day in the 80s, people go rave about it like it was some great day. And then obviously in the 90s, I think it's 1996, she died in a mysterious car crash. She was saying prior to that car crash, she was saying that she had information and she was going to share with the world, which was going to change the world. And she advocated for children, UNICEF and Save the Children. And she was an ambassador for all these people. So they're now saying that she was going to oust the process that goes on in the background. It's not necessarily about Epstein. This has gone on before he was there. But obviously, the powers that be, the Rothschilds, the real powers that be on this earth, they, the ones that are in charge of the governments, in charge of the police, in charge of the armies, the beast, the ones that control everything, in charge of the money, the banks. Obviously from time to time they need a new high priest. So Epstein would have been the latest one. Don't think since Epstein has died, you think they haven't got a new high priest. They've gone and got them. There's probably multiple. But I believe that Epstein's their highest one. So but again, it's been how many years now they would have replaced him. That's even if he's actually dead. I believe he's not. Yet again, if he represents the Rothschilds, he works for them. He's in a spot of bother. So who better than the Rothschilds to make people disappear and no names get mentioned? So he's disappeared, but yeah, I believe he's still alive. You may have seen in the last few days there's a clip going around of somebody bumping into a lady that looks like Maxwell. You may wonder it is or maybe it isn't. I believe it is. And if you're not sure, you'll see it. There's a video going around. Someone's bumped into a lady while they're filming, and they've gone and they've said to her, Ghislaine, and the lady's double took, and then she's looked at the guy at the camera, and then she said no, but it clearly looks like her. And there's questioning that the lady that they got in court is really her. And if you're still unsure about that short clip video, if you look at the man next to her, standing next to her in that short clip, and you type in her brother, you'll find that's exactly the same man. So there's there's your confirmation. There's a short clip video going around. Apparently, someone's bumped into Maxwell. People are 50-50. But if you look at the man standing next to her, you Google her brother, you'll find the same. Actually, I might as well. Now, I'm not going to bother, but I'm going to stick to it. But if you do that yourself, you'll come across it. So, but Diana here, she married into a family. She married Charles. 10 years later, she was dating another man. Apparently, she was supposedly. Then she was obviously. She died in the car crash. Now, people say, oh, she was put to death because of the relationship she had with this different man. Some people say it was for other reasons. She did. There has always been this speculation about her coming out and saying, I'm going to make this big announcement very soon. It's going to change the whole world. She married into the family, the royal family. So she married Charles, who's Charles's brother. It's Andrew, and so we know what Andrew's connected to the island, and he's into that kind of stuff. Now, Andrew. If you wonder now, okay, just within the family, do they really know what's happening? Do they really know what Andrew's about? Well, yes, they did, because at one point he got in trouble with a young lady, and the Queen Mother had to pay her X amount of million to keep quiet. So the late Queen Mother, she knew, the brother knows, and they've all known. And she's married into the family. She's an ambassador for children. She's thought, hang on a minute, what's going on here? This don't make sense. You're the royal family. She's worked out all the links. She's connected it. She was wanted to speak on something, and they put her to sleep. And then, they've carried on for the next 30 odd years, and then now the files have come out. Andrew's name has been branded about. Now you see Charles, his son. I forgot his name. William, his son William, he's come out and said, "Oh, what what Andrew's done is despicable." Here's another one for you. So you look at, I'll break down the whole family for you. Nah, let me do it this way. You type in Harry, William, James, Hewitt. So Diana had this 10-year marriage with Charles. She wasn't. They say they weren't really in love. Obviously, they ended up breaking up. But when she died, she was dating someone else. She was dating Al Fayed's son. But she had two sons with Charles, and that's his two sons. And so what they're saying is, when you look at it, so William there looks like his dad, but they're saying that Harry looks like James Hewitt, and James Hewitt was a friend in inverted commas, a friend. Oh, here you go, of Diana. So there you go. So there you go. So this family. It's a soap opera. It's no different from any other family, but they do a lot to hide their little bits and pieces. They're connected on the inside, obviously, so that, like I say, they can make things disappear. But she discovered all this. Like I say, she married into that particular family. So her death was mysterious circumstances. Car drives into a tunnel, chauffeur driven. The survivor, this is what kills it. She died, but then the driver survived. He had horrific injuries, so they couldn't really question him at first. And then eventually he was like well enough to live, and then so they've, it's been a big mystery. And they talk about bright lights, being blinded by the other headlight of a car and losing control. And we know that Esau's got these weapons, these bright lights. He can blind you, so on and so forth, to distract you, like a warlike tactic. So it happened in the tunnel. And that was it. So they were saying that she survived really the same way the driver survived. Don't forget, they were in a bulletproof armored vehicle, royalty. Um, Actually, let's see the car. Actually, it just came to mind. Um, so what was she in? Oh, here you go. And come on, man, she's in an S class. In the 1990s Mercedes S class, they're built like tanks. If you have a T-bone accident with one of these vehicles, it will send you flying. Rather than this car's a very big, heavy car, and look at it, it's not totally destroyed, so it's very easy to survive. But now they're saying that it was a it was an honor killing. Like they went in there and they executed, and again to obviously keep her quiet. So I won't put it past Esau. This is the internal wranglings of the Edomite upper echelon, within their society. But look, tunnel motorbike did not stop. All these different excuses came out. This is October 2007. Over the years, this is 10, 11 years after the incident, and they're still making articles. A motorcyclist swerved to avoid the crash. Oh, here we go. Which killed Diana and quickly left the scene without stopping. The inquest into the death was told. Oh, okay, so apparently a motorcyclist might have been behind them. But these are the types of mysteries people have wondered. See, these people out here, you got these people in the general public, they can't see what's going on. They have no idea. They can't see it. So we've been explaining for a long time now that you've got a left-hand priesthood. They do all this wicked stuff. They encourage demons onto people. You got CERN. I mean, even CERN. They talk about portals, opening up portals to let demons in. These people are fully left-handed, dealing with that spiritual world on the left-hand side, and then they infiltrate that into the world. People can't see it. People got so many demons on them, so many things occupying their senses, and with that they get away with these lies. But we're in that time where the Most High is revealing it all, and this is what it is. Like I say, you got people like this. There's Rich Tidwell. Rich is short for Richard, but another thing that's short for Richard is Dick, because what this man's done, he's seen what he's doing, and he's linking it to the Canaanites, and now he's trying to push that the Edomites are Canaanites. How does that make sense? That's like saying a white person is a black person, and a black person is a white person. Well, that don't make sense at all. But yeah, like I say, they link it up. They see all this stuff, and they go, "Oh yeah, you're just doing practices of the Canaanites." Well, why is he doing it? Ask the man, why is he doing it? Oh, I don't know. They're just wicked people. No, it's not just that they're wicked people. This is the Most High. He had a right hand priesthood. He had a left hand priesthood, and so in this time now, that left hand priesthood is being revealed. You got to realize this Epstein thing links so many dots. Like I say, for years and years, you've seen all this stuff with, famous. If you're famous, you have to sell your soul to make it. But where does it? How does it all link in? You've seen all these situations with, for example, politicians. They get caught. They have all these. You got like a politician that's been working for years and doing some nasty stuff in the background. And then all of a sudden, because somebody decides, they release the information. This is a big scandal. This person gets taken out, and we all say, "Oh yeah, they didn't want to, he didn't want to play the game anymore," and they got rid of him. Not maybe physically, but sometimes they just smear your name. They create that cancel culture around you, so you get cancelled. Like Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle started opening his mouth too much. Before you know it, you get squeezed. And then what happens? Then you need to earn money again, so you shut your mouth and you come back, or whatever it is. I don't know what Chappelle's on now, but you've seen these various scenarios with these people. So the Diddy parties. I mean, Diddy party is just a low level. You think that Epstein's the high priest. He don't want just any old Tom, Dick, and Harry coming up to his island. He selects the people that come to his island. But when you want to filter them and vet them and work out, because there's a lot of people trying to make it famous. There's a lot of people with one-hit wonders. So how do you filter them out? You send them to places like the Diddy parties, and then so Diddy's like a low-level priest, and out of there, certain people, whoever. I mean, look what they did with Aaron Russo. They liked Aaron Russo. They said, "Yep, this is what we're about. You can come in. You can work with us." And he didn't like it. He spoke against it, and before you know it, he's dead. So that's the great revealing. As part of that revealing, and then you've got go back to Ephesians. This is for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high place. So that spiritual wickedness in high place, it all starts with the banking elites. It all starts with the Most High. He let Satan loose for a little season. We're in that season, and this is what Satan was able to do. He's able to give power to these banking elites. The world is pretty much in their hand. They have their high priest. If you want to make it in this world, you pretty much got to work through that. But then, yet again, you see, they do these ritual events. You've got that, for example, what's going on Epstein Island, so on and so forth. But then they have like concerts and all these different public events, situations where they do these spiritual, satanic, ritualistic scenarios, and that just puts demons on people. That's all it is. They just put demons upon demons on people, and that's why when you look around the world today, and people are lost, they're gone. They're getting tattooed up. They're either that, or they're on drugs, or they're just obsessed with money, or they just don't give a shit. And everyone's so bugged out because there's multiple demons on them, and we're living in that time. And then you've got your normal, average, everyday idiots that they start delving into spirituality, left-hand spirits. They think they found an answer. They get involved in that. And you've got these Jake women, a lot of them doing witchcraft and so on and so forth. Whatever they do. You got people out there doing these little potions just to keep their man. Some crazy bitch out there who's just mixed up a potion just to make her man obsessed with her. But you go from that all the way up to Jeffrey Epstein, the high priest, on the left-hand side, working for the Rothschilds, and he can tell you your future of success within this world if you want to go that route. And if you look at the people that are all dealing with him, they are the most biggest, most famous, most powerful, influential people on this planet. But I mean, people are saying, they didn't, no one's been arrested and this and that, and where's the judgment? This is all part of it. It's to make the people sick of it. For the 2nd Ezra chapter 15, for the people to go to the streets, they have to get to a point where they're just sick of it. They're sick of like what you people do, you people in charge. The money's, by then inflation will be sky high. Will there be war? And everyone will be unhappy. They'll be telling us to do this and that because of pestilences. Then they'll say, if we go to a digital system, if we go to the MOTB, we can monitor everybody, we can track immigrants, and we can solve all these problems. We can, even to the point where like people complaining, these politicians, who do you trust anymore? Nobody. So they'll say, well, let's let AI govern you. AI can't be biased. So let AI govern you. Let AI decide what needs to happen. You make your vote and we'll make a choice and we'll work it out. But then even within AI, they'll manipulate it just to push you into the direction they want. The world seems, like I've said it before, it's like James Bond. The world seems like it's full of, you go into the James Bond movie and there's thousands of people that crossing past the screen. You go into the hotel, there's hundreds of people in the hotel. You go out on the street, there's another hundreds of people out there. But only one character matters, and it's the banking elites. And they have a man who comes out of the shadows who can approach you, Epstein. And Epstein has people working for him, and they have people working for him. And this is how it works. For years, you've had that whole thing about, in international grooming gangs. You've had, people who get offered modeling contracts, then they get abused. It all links back, even down to your average street, these street gangs. Like, let me put it this way. So you get gangs like this. These are the type of gangs that are running around. Well, they're not really running around because they've been caught. But there's one gang there. Look, they got caught in one sting operation. There's another gang. There's another gang. So let me ask you something. If all these gangs are out there getting caught, jacking kids, where's the kids going? Is there a big warehouse full of kids? Maybe there's an island full of them. And this is what it comes down to. So, these types of things here on your street level, ultimately, it's no different from the drugs game. You got little John on the corner who shot in little score draws, little £20 draws. He ain't the guy that's importing it in the country. He knows the guy in the city who gets it when it comes into the city. And the guy who gets it when it comes into the city, he knows a guy on the coast, and that guy will ring him every time there's another shipment. He'll ring him and say, "Yeah, I'll send one down to your city." And then the guy who collects it in the city, he'll send it to the guy in the neighborhood, and then he'll sell it to John on the street. So it will go through, multiple hands before it hits where it's supposed to be. But ultimately, it's the same people behind it. So, like I say, you got these gangs. I mean, there's one level that people do it for a physical result. I'll say it like that. I don't really want to go into it too much. Some people do it for some sort of physical situation, but some people do it for money. And like I say, then where do these kids get sent to? Get sent to the high priest for a blessing on the left hand side. Jeffrey Epstein stated in an email to Peter Thiel, founder of Palantir, "As you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds." So if you want to make it big, so you can't even. You put it this way: before he died, you say, if you want to make it big, go and see Epstein. He'll make you anything you want to be. It's almost like. So we're the high priest. We work on behalf of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So who does Epstein work on? He works on behalf of the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds want to be the most high on the left hand side, with their MOTB and their track and trace, and they switch off your chip if they don't like what you're doing. It's them who control the governments. It's them who decide what president or prime minister you have. We're saying, for example, they gave you Trump to make America great again, then they took him out, then they gave you Biden just to rub it in even more, and people were really begging for Trump. So they said, "Nah, here comes Trump again, 2.0." But this time when Trump comes 2.0, 47, he comes with technocrats. That's a plan. They did that. They move in the chess pieces, and it's them people that do it. So I'm going to leave it right there. I hope that was edifying. I'll leave the link for this video in the description box. I hope that was edifying. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.